right. We have a good number of participants to get started. So I'm going to get started. So I can see from the participants list that there are a few people with whom I have already interacted through WhatsApp, right? But quite a few of you, I have not interacted with you, so I'm not really sure if you're aware of my profile, my background or not. So I'm going to get started with a brief introduction about myself, and then we will cover the agenda for today's webinar, which is the overview of FRM examination, right? At any point of time, if you have any doubts, you can raise your hand or you can drop a message in the chat, and I will respond to you. All right. Well, so just to get started, my name is Prateek, and I have over 9 years of experience working with several firms like JP Morgan, EY, PwC, which is my last firm. I have worked on several risk management projects, and I have cleared FRM, CQF, and MSc FE degree by World Quant University. I hope you guys are familiar with all these three certifications and the degree. Uh, in terms of my academic background, so I completed my dual degree in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur. So I came from an engineering background, and I had transitioned to a finance-based career, which was largely focused on quant finance and risk management. Right. So I wanted to set this context just so you are aware that what I'm going to say for the next 50 or 60 minutes. It's coming from someone who has both theoretical and practical work experience, and I hope like you will gain something out of what I'm going to present to you over the next 50-60 minutes. All right. Now, with that said, I'm going to start sharing my screen. And after this, I may not be able to like sort of allow new participants to join the webinar. So let me just close that. Close the windows. All right. All right. Is my screen visible to everyone? Can someone please confirm?
Yeah, it's visible.
It's visible. That's great. Also minimize this. So this is the agenda, like for today's webinar, FRM exam overview. So I am going to cover a few points before we get started. Like this is a brief slide about myself. I have already explained all these things mostly, like previously to you. So I'm going to jump right ahead into the agenda items, right? So these are the 4 points we are going to cover today's webinar, right? First, we're going to understand what is a FRM exam, right? So that you guys can decide for yourself whether it is going to really help you or not. Then once you have decided that this is the right exam for you, and yeah, you are going to take chance attempting this exam. So what are the right study strategies for you, right? So then we're going to jump into study strategies. Then once you have gone through this, which is the core focus, I would say that for today's webinar, then you start to the last big day comes when you're going to give your exam. So we are going to look into some exam day strategies, right? So once you have given your exam, so of course, like everyone who appears for this exam has a career objective tied to their profile, and they want to consider some post-exam strategies, like okay, what's next for me once I've given this exam. So again, this is going to be a short I would say part of our webinar where we are going to look into some of the post-exam considerations, right? So let's begin at understanding FRM, right? So this is FRM is Financial Risk Manager certification, right? So it has global recognition, right? So it's not just specific to any particular geography like India or US or UK. It is recognized across geographies because of the, I would say, the regulations, or you could say the way in which risk is managed across geographies. There are a lot of similarities in those methodologies, and these certifications This certification takes care of those nuances, such that that particular framework for risk management can be used regardless of geographies, right? So this certification accordingly has global recognition, right? And this is organized by GARP, right? I hope you have heard of this organization called GARP, which is Global Association of Risk Professionals. It is a non-profit organization. And there are two parts of this exam, FRM Part 1 and Part 2, right? So unlike CFA, which has three parts, three levels, this exam has only two parts, right? The first part of this exam covers largely the basics, right, of what financial markets, financial products, the quantitative theory that you need to know, valuation risk models, right, and a bit of I would say some foundations of risk management that you should know, right. Then we have FRM Part 2 exam, which goes into the depth of risk management. It covers the major verticals within the risk management framework, such as your credit risk, market risk, liquidity risk, operational risk, investment management, right? Even within credit risk, it has a particular subsection called counterparty credit risk, right? So these are the different types of risk management, verticals, which are covered in detail in FRM Part 2. Its syllabus accordingly is also more comprehensive. The best part, at least to me, about this examination is this examination is just not, it is not only I would say, qualifying exam. The curriculum of this exam is very rich in content, and a lot of the concepts that you are going to study in this exam are actually used as it is in your practical work that you do within risk management. Right? This is the reason that firms, most of the firms, they value this exam a lot, right? So especially the people who have cleared both the levels, and they are certified FRMs, they are much more likely to get their CVs screened for good risk management roles as compared to other people who don't have this examination in their profile, right? So you need to, if you want to become an FRM certified professional, what do you need to do? So you need to clear both these examinations, of course, it seems obvious. Additionally, you also need to demonstrate minimum 2 years of working experience within a related domain. All right. Then only you are granted an FRM chart, and the a beautiful piece of paper will also be shipped to your home, which you can of course laminate and showcase, right? So this is about FRM exam, right? Now what's next? Few facts about FRM, right? So one thing is, you can see, I'm not sure how closely you are following the market, but I have been following it pretty closely for the last good 6-7 years, and I've seen a large increase in number of jobs for risk management professionals, right? So one thing is, this certification itself is not very old. That's why a lot of people may not even be aware about this particular examination, or what is the content for this examination, right? All of that. So you can see this program was introduced in 1997, right? Now this date may look old, but as compared to other certifications, quite a few certifications, and other core banking domains like credit risk, this examination is not very old, right? Just like 25-28 years old, right? This is the data as of 2022, some 3 years ago, right? There were 84,000 professionals who have completed FRM certification. I think the recent data, if you would look at it, it would be more closer to 10 million or so, right? So you can see this fact should interest you. These are employed in more than 190 countries worldwide. So this again relates to the fact which I mentioned in my previous slide, that this certification has global recognition, right? What are the type of firms that these professionals work in? These cover banks, insurance companies, accounting firms, right? You have seen big fours, right? Regulatory agencies and asset management firms, right? Especially if you look at book 3, which is financial markets and products of FRM part 1 exam, right? So you will realize that the first 6 chapters of FRM part 1 book 3 especially focuses on your financial institutions, like what type of institutions, financial institutions are there, right? So in all these institutions, FRM certification exam is valued a lot, right? How do I allow these people which are no longer trying to? Okay, that's it. Okay. About the fees of the exam, right? So this fees ranges from $1,600 to $2,000 for both parts, right? In Indian rupees, like if you are from India, so it would be close to 1,40,000 to 1,70,000, right? Based on whether you are going for an early registration or a standard registration, right? So I've put together this concise slide for you, which highlights the fee of this exam, right? So there is a one-time enrollment fee of $400, right, that you need to pay so that before you can register for FRM exam. After this, there is an early registration fee of $600, right, and a standard registration of $800, right? And this is the fee structure for both the exams, right? Now you can assume study material and coaching will cost you an additional $800 to $1,000 based on wherever you are placed. So you can take a ballpark number of $2,000, right? This is the total cost with coaching, right? Given that you are going for a early registration, right? So you're going for this early registration, you are planning your preparation very judiciously. You are taking this decision, so you can go for early registration, and it will cost you close to $2,000, including coaching, right? I will take a pause here, right? If anyone has any doubts, you can ask in the chat and I will be happy to answer. Anyone? Any doubts? No doubts? I will check before resuming. Okay, no doubts. That's great. Okay, let's look at some employers of this exam. So see, this I've taken from the GARP website. So you will see a lot of these firms being from China, right? Okay, I will take this Komal after completing these points. Right. So any doubt outside these slides, I will take up after completing the webinar. Okay, but this is a good question. I'll certainly look into that. So these are from China. So in terms of employment, they have a lot of people, but yeah, of course, outside China, they don't have a lot of openings. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you would have heard these names: JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, HSBC, right? Citigroup, Bank of America, Bank of Santander, Santander Bank is again something a good bank. And then all the big fours, right? I hope you're aware of the big fours, right? Everyone here aware of big fours? Guys, in the chat, can you write if you're aware of the big fours? You're not aware of big four? Anyone else? Okay, that's great. I was a bit scared too for a moment. I don't want to go into that. Okay, cool. Then why you should go for it? There should be some importance of this examination, and there's no reason for you to pay $2,000 only to learn something. But if beyond learning, it does not have any application, right? So as I already told you that one of the lovely facts about this examination is that whatever you study in this examination is actually being used by the firms for their projects, and that is why they value this examination a lot. And it has global credibility. So it is not just for a particular geography, but across geographies, the firms value and respect this examination a lot. Right. You will see these points, whatever I've just said, broken down here into these bullets, like it is globally recognized, right? It demonstrates expertise in risk management, right? And accordingly, like, certainly it will enhance your career opportunities, right? So before FRM, after FRM, your CV will look very, very different, right? It will look more impactful. uh, Employers value this, so you will have better job prospects, right? And your earning potential, like, even if before this exam you were having a risk management job, but after this examination, the horizon or the scope of your understanding will certainly increase, like, and this will lead you to grow faster within risk management. So it will increase your earning potential, right? Uh, and then this examination equips you with the certain risk management skills, right? For example, I told you, just to take few examples. Speaking of market risk, you will get to know about market risk metrics like value at risk, different ways of calculating value at risk, expected shortfall. What is the difference between VAR and expected shortfall, right? If you are looking at, let's say, counterparty credit risk, you will get to know what is CVA, what is PFE, what is EPE, right? And how are these metrics being used? What is collateral? What are different, right? And if you're looking at, let's say, financial products, you will get to know what are the different types of interested products, like that is the swap, right? Or what are corporate bonds? What are zero coupon bonds, right? How is their sensitivities calculated? How are their sensitivities calculated? And these kind of things. And apart from it, you will also get to know how are different regulations, they impact the banks, right? For example, there are certain types of capital that a bank must hold according to Basel guidelines. So you will get to know all of these in this exam, and the banks actually follow those regulations in practice, right? So these are the kind of skills that you will learn while studying for this exam, and that is why, like, banks and other financial institutions like Big Four value this exam a lot. Is someone trying to say something? I'm getting static. I got it. Chat. So I will move to the next slide, which is about the format of this exam, right? So as I told you, there are two parts in this exam, right? FRM part 1 and FRM part 2. So in terms, there are few similarities and there are few differences in both these exams, right? Now, if I were to look at the actually, there are mostly these are similar, at least in terms of format, right? Of course, in curriculum they vary a lot, but in terms of format, they are largely similar. Only this part, the number of questions is different, right? So in FRM part 1, you will have to complete 100 questions within 4 hours. But in FRM part 2, you have to complete only 80 questions within 4 hours, right? So which part do you think is more difficult looking by this data? Like here you have to complete 100 questions and here you have to complete 80 questions. You can just, turn on your mic and say it. Which part do you think is more difficult, FRM part 1 or FRM part 2?
Of course, the part 2.
But why? Here there are only 80 questions, and in part 1 you have to do 100 questions.
But I think the difficulty of the questions would be high in part 2.
Yes, that's true. These are difficult in part 2. The difficulty is there, but I would say more than that, these 80 questions are asked from almost, like, 104, 105 readings. So in part 2, you have to cover over 100 chapters to answer these 80 questions. So just to retain those many concepts, to retain the content of those many chapters, it's a huge task. Right? Here, even part 1 is not very straightforward, right? But still, I would say the number of chapters are less, like 62, and there are good chances that if you're a working professional, so you might have seen some of those concepts in your job at some point of time. So, right, so this was about the number of questions and the duration of exam. In terms of options, right, so you get 4 options, like it is an MCQ based exam, right? So you have to select the one correct option, and if you select an incorrect option, so there are no negative marks, right? So there is no negative marking. In terms of the windows in which these examinations are conducted, right? So to be frank, like GARP has not been very consistent over a lot of, if you consider like, past 10 years or 5 years or so. But for the past, I would say 2-3 years, I can reasonably say that, GARP has consistently been taking this exam in the windows May, August, and November, right? So these are the 3 windows in which GARP conducts both these exams. One point I have not written here is, once you give the exam, it takes close to 1.5 month for you to, get the results, right? The results, they are given to you in quartiles. So you will not see the results in marks, like out of 100 marks, how many marks did you get? But you will see your results in quartiles. Those quartiles would be for each of the books. Like, for example, if part 1 has 4 books, so you will see your quartiles in each of the 4 books. Like, let's say quartile 1 in book 1, quartile 1 in book 2, quartile 2 in book 3, and some, like this. So next point I want to go ahead is, I hope this is clear for everyone. Exam format, do you have any doubts, or maybe something which I have not covered? That's great. Okay, I will take this as a no, and I will move on to the part 1 coverage. All right. So as I just told you in the previous slide, FRM part 1 exam has 4 books. Right? So first one is Foundations of Risk Management. It has only 11 chapters. Second one is Quantitative Analysis. Right? It has 15 chapters. Right? Third one is Financial Markets and Products, which has the most number of chapters, 20. And the last one is Valuation and Risk Models. Right? It has somewhere like, in between 16 chapters. All these 4 books, they have different weightage. Like book 1, Foundations of Risk Management, has a weightage of 20%, and book 2 also holds similar weightage, same weightage, 20%. Right. So first 2 books combined have 26 chapters and have weightage of 40%. Right. Third book, Financial Markets and Products, has a weightage of 30%. Right. It has 20 chapters, right, as I told you. The last book, Valuation and Risk Models, it has a weightage of 30% and just 16 chapters. So, but I would want to tell you here something, that most of the candidates, at least from my experience, they face a lot of struggle in this book, Quantitative Analysis. It's just like, in terms of weightage, it has only 20% weightage, but most of the candidates have found this book quite challenging to deal with. Right. I have few strategies to deal with this book, but I would say that that is not the agenda for this particular session. But I thought of highlighting it to you, like, if you are a first timer, you may also face the same problem. Right. Now, next we have FRM Part 2 exam. So in terms of weightage and number of chapters, right? So it has 6 books, right? Out of these are purely like, core, like you would say, risk verticals, risk management verticals. Now this is your risk and investment management, right? It also has a lot of risk and investment related concepts, right? In terms of weightage and chapters, if we go through it, so we will see market risk. It has 18 chapters, right? The last year it had 16, but GARP has added a couple of more chapters this time, so it has now 18 chapters. Its weightage is 20%. Right? Next, we have credit risk, right? It has 23 chapters, its weightage is 20%. Third one also, you have operational risk. It also has a weightage of 20%, but number of chapters are 24. Right. Fourth one is liquidity and treasury risk. Right. It has a weightage of 15%, and the number of chapters are 19. Right. Next, we have risk and investment management. It has a weightage of 15%, similar to liquidity and treasury risk. And number of chapters are 11. And lastly, we have current issues, which has a weightage of 10%, and the number of chapters are also 10. Now, this book gets updated every year. Every year, this book gets updated. Like maybe one or two chapters might be there, which may be the same, but almost every chapter gets updated for this book. GARP has been very, I would say, dynamic or volatile in updating part 2 syllabus as compared to part 1. Like we see very less updates in part 1 year after year, but in part 2 we can expect a lot of changes over years, right? That is why it is very difficult to establish a pattern when in terms of the type of questions or the topics from where GARP is going to sort of test you in the exam, because the chapters, like from which might be let's say important at one point of time in 1 year, like they may simply GARP may simply remove them, right? And GARP has been very very inconsistent as it when it comes to part 2. Like I've done thorough analysis of part 1 and part 2 questions, and in part 1 we can definitely identify, like there are 25 or 30 chapters which are super important, but in part 2 it's very difficult, right? So part 2, that's why when I was on this slide, I asked you like which exam do you think is more difficult, right? So here, although it has only 80 questions, but it is extremely difficult to predict any pattern, like from which chapter they are going to come from, how many questions are going to come from any chapter. There is no, like it is completely very random, right?
Also, Pratik, just one point I want to ask here.
Yeah.
So just you covered the syllabus and book across these two part, right? So my feeling, my assumption is that so compared to part one, part two have more difficulty because of the types of questions they are asking. Because part one is pretty straightforward. Maybe part two they have situational based questions across these areas. If I am not wrong, is that right?
I would say partially, because see, even in part 1, the topics may appear simple to you, right? But when you start to look into GARP mocks, you can see for yourself that for most of the questions, what happens is, like, you will be able to easily eliminate one or two options, right? But the last two options would look so close to each other that it is very difficult to eliminate the, like wrong option from there. Like this is applicable for both part 1 and part 2, right? But part 2 comes with an but within part 1, at least if you have practiced sufficient number of mocks, right? So you will start to see some pattern, like like, okay, GARP is testing me on these type of questions, like how would change in interest rate impact, like some relation to, like, let's say bond futures or something like that, right? So you will start to see some common topics around which GARP test you. But within part 2, it is completely very random, very very random, right? So I won't say like part 1 is easy because the topics are easier, right? But I think it's just easy because it is easier to revise less number of chapters,
Okay, got it.
right? Okay, I will go to next slide. Okay, so I hope by this slide, everyone in this webinar who is listening to me and but have not just put me and yourself on mute and just doing something else. So all the active participants are familiar. You have got yourself familiarized with the exam structure by this slide. Can I sort of assume it? Are you all good?
Yeah.
Great, perfect. So I am going to go to the next part of this webinar, which includes study strategies. Right? So assuming the fact that by this time you have made up your mind that yeah, this is an interesting exam, looks relevant to me, and would help me in the career, and I have made up my mind to go for this exam. So the next obvious step is to plan for this exam. So how to sort of begin your study strategies, right? How to go for your study strategies. Okay, so the first part in making a good study planner is to decide the resources for your study, right? Uh, I think in terms of books, Schweizer is best. It is concise enough, relevant to exam, and is almost sufficient. I would say not 100%, but almost sufficient in covering all the topics, right? Now, some of you can argue that GARP is more comprehensive, covers things in detail, and it is a better book than Schweizer. And I would not disagree with that. You are right in what you are saying, but you will have to understand the point that GARP book is created to cover all the concepts in a very comprehensive and rich manner, whereas Schweizer is a examination, basically they are a prep provider, right? So they have created their curriculum from the examination perspective. So their goal is that within a reasonably amount of time, reasonably short enough time, how can you clear the exam, right? So they don't promise you a rich understanding of all the concepts. What they promise you is uh, if you cover all these concepts, you will be able to clear the exam. Okay, so they have a concise toned down version of whatever is there in the GARP books. Now that being said, what I find a good strategy is you complement Schweizer with GARP, right? So you complete your studies with Schweizer, and whenever you find that there are few topics where you are not finding Schweizer, you are not able to understand those topics from Schweizer, then you refer GARP selectively only for the reference of those topics. Okay, so you have to complete Schweizer thoroughly and GARP selectively for difficult topics. Okay, good. Now this is for study part. In terms of textbooks, if you want to refer to online videos, right? So there are two alternatives. One is analyst prep videos. All the videos are available for free on YouTube, right? Now, if you are comfortable with them, they should be sufficient. And if you are doing a self study, but if you are going with a coaching institute, right, such as us, right, so you should refer to their videos and their planner if you're enrolled in a coaching institute, right? So this is for study part, and one more way of which is very effective is peer learning, right? So join study groups, right, on forums such as WhatsApp and Telegram. And I think I would assume very safely that more than half of you are already part of our open WhatsApp and Telegram groups, and I hope you are getting some value from there, right? So that is the third part, right? In terms of study, you get your doubts clarified from there within within a day. Whenever you get some important insights, right, or wherever you have doubts, you can discuss with fellow learners, right? Anyone has any doubt on this, or you would like to add something, or you want to ask something? No, all good, great. Okay, so you have decided the study resources, and then the next part is how to make notes, right? First of all, I have few points to add here. Any notes are better than no notes. Okay, so your notes need not be perfect. You are not going to publish a research paper based on your notes, right? It's great if you do it, but yeah, the idea is not to publish a research paper, but the idea is to clear the exam. Okay, so basically you must prepare study notes. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are, doesn't matter if they are handwritten or digital, doesn't matter you are writing in OneNote or some other app, like doesn't matter. But you need to make notes, chapter wise notes, right? First point is write yourself, write or basically type yourself whatever you get from this, right? So maintain your notes and write brief points. You don't need to copy paste whatever you are studying in a book or whatever you're looking at, in a particular slide or a video. You need to maintain your notes in your own understanding, based on your own understanding, and just write the brief points. Okay, the key summary points. All right. Then notes are a living document. I hope you have heard this term living document, especially if you are part of Big Four or in any consulting firm. So this is a more like a consulting jargon. Like these are living documents, and what we mean by that is uh, any draft you prepare for notes, it needs to get updated on a very frequent basis. What are the events that are going to trigger this updation of notes? For example, if you're going to attempt any test series, if you're going to practice questions, you will always find that this is a new learning point. I didn't know this earlier based on my study. So I am going to update this in my notes, right? Or if you realize that there is a particular concept that is being tested again and again and again in the questions, so you can yourself realize that this is something, maybe it sounds like an important point, so I should update this in the note, right? Any formula, any question type, any particular concept you find super important, you are going to go back to your notes and you are going to update that. Okay. Now, in terms of revision strategy, how are you going to revise, right? So this is on in context to notes. So it is very important to keep revising your notes, right? Uh, what is a good strategy to revise notes is, like, of course, if you are going to attempt a particular mock exam or something, you can revise them before that. But in general, when you wake up, right, you get a sweet window of 15-20 minutes before your, I would say, you can plan it to 15-20 minutes window early in the morning, right, when you are feeling fresh, and just revise the important chapters, right, or revise the latest notes that you have created. What this will do is, this is just like a plain, physical exercise. You do it every day, you start to feel the changes, right? So similarly, our brain muscles also work in the same manner. Like, of course, in brain we have neurons, so they also work in the same manner, but they build this muscle memory, right? You're looking at them daily, so within your subconscious mind you are actively, that your subconscious mind is layering up everything and organizing things, right? So you will not even realize, but when you will see a question, the things will start to get back to you. Okay. Your planner should incorporate the revisionist concepts, right? So revision is something which you should not be doing based on key, okay, if I get the time I will do it, if I don't get the time I won't do it. Okay, it should be an essential part of your planner, right? So revision is something you should take it very very seriously. Let's say if you have completed 10 chapters and if you have not revised any of the chapters, I'm definitely certain by the time you start next chapter, you will hardly be able to retain anything, right? So right after you do a chapter, it is very important you practice few questions and you make notes and you keep revising. Okay. Please remember, we are in the part of the webinar where we are discussing study strategies. And as I told you in the beginning, this is the most important part. You need to pay attention and you need to be sort of, I want you to visualize, how you would be applying all of these concepts within your particular context. What would be that time for you when you can revise? What would be that format of writing notes, in which you would be preparing your notes, like digital or handwritten, right? So please be very actively, please actively think on those points within your context. Now, we have made good notes, and the time comes to practice, right? To apply the concepts and see how good is our understanding, right? So, this is like playing a game, all right? So, before you begin any chapter, right, and make notes, first of all, review 4 or 5 questions from either GARP mocks, right, or Schweizer range chapter quizzes are really, really good. Like, we have covered them in our videos because I found them really, really helpful and so relevant to exam that I thought it is almost criminal to not include them within, our video sessions, right? So you need to practice few questions so that you get an understanding that what is the label and what is the type of questions which are asked in the exam, right? So that you can accordingly, like, tune your strategy, and you can accordingly tune your notes, fine tune your notes, and basically you can calibrate the difficulty level on which you have to go, right? While making notes and, right, while revising. Now, next is practice using notes, right? So once you have thoroughly studied the chapter, right, you are supposed to practice by following your notes, right? Ideally, whenever you are doing any question, nothing, no question should come. It should not have any concept which is not covered in your notes, because the moment you find any such new concept which is not in your notes, you should go back and update your notes to include that concept. You do it 2 3 times and you will start to realize that, oh yeah, everything is covered, I am not seeing any new questions now. Okay. Of course, as I told you, update notes if you come across new concepts, right? Or you develop any additional understanding, like, okay, there are more than one, there is more than one method to solve a particular question, you write that in your notes, right? Any sort of new concept that you come across, you update it in your notes. All right. So you have to study, you have to make notes, and you have to practice using the notes. You got these 3 steps, like how they should sequentially follow. Okay. Are you able to visualize these three steps? Like, you study, you make notes, and you practice using notes. Very simple. Right. We used to do it as a student earlier, and it's time to follow the same strategy. Okay, this is your structured study plan, right? So there should be a planner or a schedule which has all the detailed items, like what you are supposed to do on a particular day, right? Uh, Based on your particular background, like the kind of academic and professional background you are coming from, you need to prioritize your study sessions and prepare the planner accordingly, right? You need to regularly track your progress, right? Because I am 100% sure that it will never happen that whatever planner you have decided for yourself, you are going to stick to that, to the end, like, till the end. You will not deviate from it. It will never happen. There certainly will be changes. So you need to ensure that whenever there is a gap, there is a delay, you are making adjustments to your planner, right? And you should ensure that, it should not happen that you are deviating too much, right? So it should not happen that 2 weeks you have not done anything. Now that is unacceptable, right? Because this particular exam demands focus and discipline. Consistently you have to do that. You will realize that there is not even a single chapter where you will see, oh no, this is like, or this is on an advanced level. There is no such chapter, right? If you consistently keep practicing, you will realize, okay, yeah, everything is doable. What is most challenging is doing the same thing every day, right? So you have to maintain that discipline, you have to maintain that focus, and you have to maintain that momentum to ensure that you are making daily progress, right? And whatever progress you are making, you are keeping track of it. Okay. And keep practicing. Like, to be honest, there is no substitute to practicing number of questions, because if you just simply study and don't apply, you will never be able to understand the type, pattern, and difficulty level of questions which the GARP is going to test you on in the exam, right? So practice is the best strategy. You do analyst prep question bank, you do Schweizer in chapter quizzes, and you do GARP mocks, right? Uh, you can skip GARP mocks and other mocks if you are using our test series, but if you cannot afford that, that the budget does not allow it, so at least do GARP mocks. So since 2019, not 23, this should be 2025, my bad. But 2019 onwards, all the GARP mocks you should do. Okay. I'm going to take a pause again and see if you have any doubts. You can ask me. This is the right time. That's great.
Pratik,
Yeah.
you mentioned about the structured study plan here. Can you please just add some point or some suggestions for the working professionals who how can they manage on their daily how can they manage daily, like how they can schedule, how they can prioritize based on the level of exam. Say for example, if you are planning for FRM level 1, right? So if you are a
Mhm.
working professional, we only have limited time frame
Yeah.
every day, so how can we plan that?
Yes. May I know your name? Like who's asking? Because I'm in a different chat.
Myself, Rishi Kumar.
Okay. Rishi, thanks for asking this question. This is one of the most frequently asked questions that I have encountered, and this is a very standard question, standard doubt, most common one. So see, for professionals, the best strategy is uh, like 1 to 2 hours. Try to manage that time within the weekends. Sorry, weekdays, Monday to Friday. You have to allot 1 to 2 hours daily, right? Weekdays are going to be more challenging, right? So on weekdays, you have to at least give 1 to 2 hours. Now, whenever the weekends come, you have to ensure that you are giving 5 to 6 hours per weekend, right? That much time you have to give. This is the only strategy, right? I mean, there is no other substitute, right? Accordingly, you plan for yourself. For example, any chapter which is difficult, you park it for the weekend. Whenever you are doing mocks, you park it for the weekend. Within the weekdays, if it is about practice, you can take up like okay, I'm going to do 15-20 questions within a weekday, right? Or I'm going to take a easier chapter uh, for a weekday, right? Now, in terms of granularity, like how to decide which chapter is easier, which chapter is difficult, or let's say which chapter is theory based, large theory based, or which chapter is a bit more analytical. For that, you can refer to the planner that I have shared in the group. It's for free. You can access it. If you have not seen that planner, just let me know. I will share it again after this webinar is over, right? So you can refer to that planner, see which chapters are easier, uh, put them, reserve them for weekdays, which and the chapters which are a bit on the tough side, you plot park them for weekends, right?
Yeah, sure, Pratik. That works actually.
Now, this is going to be a relatively shorter section of the webinar, like exam-based strategies, right? So the most important thing is time management, right? So see, you have to target that within 1 hour, you are completing 30 questions, right? So you have to be a bit more, I would say conservative here, right? So when you target 30, you will be able to do 26, 28, right? Or something like that. The best thing for the best strategy for time management is register in a test series which gives you timed test, right? So please register in test series, right? If you do mocks like yourself, you will not be able to keep track of time. Like it never happens that you are giving GARP mocks and you are sitting for 4 hours continuously straight. It does not work like that. You have to register in a time test series, right? Basically, which keeps showing you how many hours, how many minutes are remaining, right? And whenever you are giving this test from the test series, create an environment around yourself which mimics the actual exam environment, like, no disturbance, no noise, just sort of sit in a closed room and ask your family, friends, whosoever you are living with, that for next 4 hours please don't disturb me, and I'm going to give this test, right? So try to aim for at least 30 questions, right? But certainly no less than 25, minimum 25, right? Because that is what you have to go for in exam, right? So keep track of, okay, my 1 hour is over, first hour is over, how many questions have I attempted, right? My second hour is over, how many questions have I attempted, right? Always begin with questions that you find most comfortable, right? So you have to scan the paper very quickly, right? And see, because in the exam there will be close to 40 questions, which will be very easy. Now I'm not lying, like I have given this exam, so I know 40 questions are something which, if you are not in a stressed situation, if you are just applying the basics, if you have done the mocks and test series, which I've just told you, you will not face any challenge in doing these 40 questions. The only reason where things might go wrong is like you are stressed, and as I told you, GARP is also always going to confuse in the last two options, so you will end up selecting those last, uh, the wrong option out of those last two, right? So that's why I'm saying begin with questions where you find most comfortable, right? So whenever you're scanning a paper, you see any concept that you have not prepared for thoroughly, right? You see any difficult question, just move ahead. Here one more thing I would like to add is, put your ego aside while giving the exam. For example, if you think you are a person who is very strong on the quantitative side, right? And throughout your career and academics, you have done good in quantitative, but then in the exam you find a question where you are not able to get to the right answer, and so don't take it on your ego that I have to find the right answer for this because I am a quant person. It does not work in this exam like that. Wherever a question is taking more than 3 minutes, right? For me, this is the deadline I had set for myself. Like, I am not going to give any question 3 minutes unless I have covered all the other questions, right? So 3 minutes is your threshold, right? Like, until 3 minutes, you can live with your ego. After 3 minutes, you should kill your ego. Okay. So you will move to next question. Cool. You can ask for as many these white papers kind of for doing rough calculations, so you can just park it there so that you can get back later. Allocate time for each section based on the number of questions, right? So basically you should maintain a steady pace, right, throughout the exam, right? It should not happen in the first 1 hour you have completed let's say only 10 questions, and then you got in a panic mode, so in the next hour you completed what 50 questions, that because if you do it in this manner, if you let your stress drive the uh, attempt of this test, so of course out of these 50 questions there are good chances that you have attempted a lot of these questions in an incorrect manner, right? So please be consistently maintain a steady and consistent pace while attempting the exam, right? Flagging, right? So any questions like the ones that targeted your ego, the ones that attacked your ego, just flag these questions where you think I know this but just need a bit more time, right? And then yeah, skip to next questions, right? So see, you should know how to work better on the exam day, how to manage your time. These may look very simple tips, but I am telling you, these simple points can make a difference of easily 10 to 15 marks. Basically, they may decide whether you are going to clear the exam or not, or maybe with what quartiles you are going to clear the exam. That's why I said, like, all these small things are automatically they get corrected when you practice 5 to 10 tests in test series, right? But if you are not doing that, So you need to be very, very careful around these points. Now, in terms of answering technique, so first one is elimination method. So there will be a lot of questions where you can simply, for example, like, they may give you, let's say, parameters of a corporate bond, like, okay, this is the price, this is the time to maturity, this is the payment coupon payment frequency, this is the coupon size, right? So what is the yield to maturity? So if you think that calculating yield will take more time, right? Although there is a formula in calculator, oh sorry, I mean, like, there's a method in calculator, right? So it gives directly. But I'm just giving you one example. So the elimination method, how it would work here is, you will put in all the options within the bond formula, and then calculate the, like, which of the yields is giving the right price. So you can use elimination rule like this, right, to eliminate the wrong answers. But I have seen a lot of candidates, they say, I did not get the time to attempt all the questions. And this is the worst you can do, because, like, I remember very clearly towards the last part of my exam, I saw questions from probability, like, Bayes theorem and all, which were so simple. It took me less than 30 seconds to do that, right? Just plug and play, like, you just use the formula, plug the values, and get the answer. So you cannot afford to miss any questions. Like, in the last, if you see 10 questions are remaining, I have only 1 minute. So do a random marking, like, like, even if you randomly attempt all the 100 questions, the expected marks is, what do you think would be the expected marks if you attempt all the questions randomly? And someone tell me, like, within FRM part 1, if you attempt all the questions randomly, you don't know the answer, what would be the answer that you get? Yeah, fail, I get it. How many marks will you get? Guys, this is a probability question. So I'm asking, not really. Why would you get 50? You will get 25,
25.
no? Yeah, you will get 25, right? 1 out of 4, 1 by 4 is the probability into 100, right? The value. So, and then you have to review the responses, right? So ideally you should have at least 15 to 20 minutes in which you can review your responses, right? So basically revising, right? Basically reviewing whatever you have done. So you just need to do a sanity check for those questions, like, this is the thought process while doing this question. Yes, this makes sense. But sometimes it is a 4 hour long paper. So you need to, when you are reviewing responses, often you will realize that, there are 3 or 4 questions at least which were not correct, right? These are some very small points uh, from examination perspective, right? I have given a lot of exams. I've given JE exam, I have given CAT exam, I know, and these FRM exams, of course, and all of these were objective papers. And for JE, like, I gave so many test series, so many quizzes, so I know these techniques, how to incorporate that. But if someone has not given such objective exams, few of the techniques may be new for you, right? So you need to incorporate all of these on the exam day, right? And a good way of doing it is practice with test series. All right. Now, okay, this is again going to be a shorter part of the slide, right? So once you're given the exam, so yeah, like, look at your score, analyze it, right, and see if you can further improve your skills, right? This will also help you evaluate your strengths and weaknesses, which you can improve in the future. And whatever feedback you get as a result of your performance evaluation, you incorporate it within your, basically a learning part, right, to upskill and enhance your professional competencies, right? Now, the last one is, if you found it useful, right, if you think what I am saying where I am coming from, it resonates with you. If your challenges that you have faced within your professional journey is something where we can help you. So yeah, I would love to work with you in this FRM journey, right? These are the several features that we provide. We will provide you live lectures. We'll provide you recordings if you're not able to attend the lectures. We'll provide you detailed notes, revision notes, formula sheets, right? All the comprehensive question bank. Plus, where is something I think we are missing something. Uh, I wanted to include test series, which is like something. I have not seen a better test series than us. Like I can say this, I have seen many test series, and there is no test series which is as comprehensive as the one provided by us, right? So I mean, if you want to prepare with us, just ping me after this webinar, right? You can reach out to me on WhatsApp on this number. Okay, I'm going to write this. In the chat, I'm going to send my number, so you can just copy it and you can write a message to me on WhatsApp. All right. So this was all from my side. We have, I think, one more slide, career guidance, right? So apart from this, I realize like whenever someone is doing an FRM, most of the people, they want to upskill, get a better job, or just grow in their existing role, right? So we decided that what we are going to do is there is a sweet window of 1.5 months once the FRM exam happens, and between the FRM exam and the results date, there's a sweet window of 1.5 months in which we are going to conduct few master classes on career guidance, where we will help you start or transition to a career in risk management, right? We are also going to provide you excellent Python implementation of few models such as VAR, expected shortfall, Black-Scholes model, binomial model, and options creeps, right? We'll also help you include these quantitative projects in your CV, like how you can demonstrate that you have worked on these projects, right? And we are going to share an interview guide. It will have 100 plus most frequently asked questions in quant interviews and risk management interviews. So everyone, this was me, Pratik. And with this webinar, I hope I was able to add some value to your FRM exam understanding, and maybe this will help you in taking a better decision for your future. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can ask me any questions that you might have, and I will be happy to answer all of those questions. All right. What someone said something. One should. Okay, I am looking at the chat from the top. Common asked, one should take job after clearing both levels or after clearing part one. I would say the moment you are looking for a new job, you should have a good CV prepared, and you should apply from that moment itself. Doesn't matter if you have done part one, part two, or both parts. The thing is, as you keep on adding part one, part two, both the parts, it is going to increase your chances, right? But you should not just wait for completing both the parts, because this process takes time, often more than 1 year, right? So I would say keep on applying, right? As you keep adding these certifications, your chances of success will increase, right? Uh, but at least I hope you will be able to get some interviews, even without FRM, if you basically include good projects in your CV, good quant projects in your CV. Second question is, please cover study plan according to mock corresponding to mock test. Okay. So this is from Diptendu. Diptendu, if you look at our test series syllabus, you will see in that syllabus that we have covered the quizzes chapter wise. So you will find all the quizzes chapter wise, and we have covered test, right? Full course test. The test both book wise and complete course, right? So the first few tests that you will look at either for FRM part 1 or part 2, they complete, a particular book. But if you look at the last few tests, last 4 or 5 tests, they will complete the entire syllabus, right? So you can plan these tests based on the sequence in which you have decided to complete the topics in your study planner. Pratik, can you show the PPT of FRM part 1? I missed that part. Farhat, I'm not really sure because I was showing this PPT throughout the basically presentation. I was sharing my screen, but still I will upload this video on YouTube. So in case you have missed anything before, maybe if you joined a bit later, so you can access everything there. Okay, next, how much time you had completed your paper? Okay, exactly, I don't remember, but I remember it pretty well. I think that I was able to basically cover all these topics, like review my responses for most of the questions and basically go back to the difficult questions, right? I think it was 3.5 hours or something, right? And that is what you should also target, like 3.5 hours, you should be able to complete the entire paper, right? What are some of the common mistakes we must avoid while taking tests? See, some of the common mistakes, I think that's a good question, Vignesh. I mean, most of the mistakes I've already discussed in the exam day strategies section, right? So you should avoid doing all those mistakes, right? And few other things I can add is one, a lot of the people, they think that test series should be attempted just 1 week before the exam. This is, I don't know, like who is teaching you this, because this is like 80% are following this strategy. I don't know why. And in the last week, when I asked them, okay, how is test series going? So they say, we are panicked, we are stressed, we are not able to complete syllabus. We thought we will start test series when we will complete syllabus. So this is an absolute blunder. Don't make this. Test series should be completed along with the curriculum, right? It is to set the tone and pace of the exam topics, right? The pattern and questions you are going to see in the exam, you will get to know only when you are, attempting a test series, good test series, right? So a lot of the people, they just say, ki, okay, we are going to go for the test series after completing entire syllabus, and that day never comes. That day never comes, believe me. It will never happen that you have, completed entire syllabus. So this is I think one point that I wanted to highlight. One of the most common mistakes I have seen, 80% people making the same mistake. One more thing I would say is plan your studies. Please plan your scheduling of the exam a bit judiciously. Don't think that, okay, if I register, I will clear this exam, and magically I will start to devote, 8-9 hours for this exam if I register. I have seen a lot of people, uh, they are so desperate either to get job or to clear the exam, that, you know for example, for November they will register now without even looking at the learning objectives and what all is there in the curriculum. This exam requires time, even if you are coming from a relevant background, right? So at least assume that it will take 350 hours at least, right, for you to clear this exam, right? So in whatever schedule you are having, just see if you can manage those 350 hours or not before deciding the window in which you are going to appear for this exam. What is the average number of questions that we need to get correct in order to pass part 1? Pranay, so see, GARP does not officially release this, right? Basically, how many questions you need to clear overall or in each book. A good number is 70, right? At least 70 you should target in mocks, right? But I would like to emphasize that you should be 70% should be applicable for individual books as well, right? So let's say if it's book one, so out of 20 questions, you should be attempting for, let's say, 14, 15, at least those many should be correct, right? Similarly, let's say if it's book four for part one, so you should be targeting that out of 30, you should be having at least 20 to 23 correct. Uh, FRM is valued in consulting. What is your take from your work experience? Okay, so here first of all, I would like to clarify that the type of consulting I was included in or I was involved in, it was not strategic or management consulting, right? This is risk consulting, right? So for us, our clients are mostly banks, and we are consulting them on either model validation or model audit, right? Why FRM is valued is because in our consulting, subject matter expertise is valued a lot, and that subject matter expertise that we bring comes from the knowledge of risk management. A lot of the banks, their concern is, especially the middle-sized and small-sized banks, that they are not very familiar with what the industry norms are, what the industry practices are, what the uh, Basel regulations are. So they want our expertise based on the fact that we have worked with several large clients as well, right? And a number of other institutions, right? That is where FRM helps us, right? Because we can use the knowledge from FRM. We can even cite that, okay, this is what FRM is been written is FRM, because the content of FRM is developed based on standard text, right? So that is how it is valued in consulting. What is the duration of time frame of the coaching if enrolled with Risk Hub? So see, I would say we have we are not taking no enrollments for November now, because it's way too soon. For 3 months, it will not be possible. If you are planning to register for May, we have already started the enrollments for May window. And we wanted to start it a bit early, because what we realized is that, for professionals, it is very challenging to manage both, work-life balance. And we decided that few chapters we are going to cover now itself, right? And then after a couple of months, we are going to, pick the pace with live sessions, right? So as soon as you register with us, right, from Monday, that is tomorrow, we are going to provide you access to few lectures right now itself, right? And then somewhere around the time frame of October, November, we are going to start with the live sessions as well, which will cover the more difficult chapters, right? Your entire syllabus will be covered by March end. Okay. For more details, Farhat, you can even ping me on the WhatsApp number which I've shared with you, and I can share, planner, brochure, and other details, sample video if you want. If someone has experience of 10 years in credit risk model risk or market risk, does it gives an edge in the real world? Not okay. If someone has experience of 10 years in credit risk but not in market risk, does it give an edge in the real world? Uh, Not really sure in real world. I hope you're asking in your job, right? Uh, okay, so see, certainly, yeah, if you are doing FRM, now doesn't matter if you are coming from any sort of risk management background. Of course, it becomes like you will not be able to transition into a market risk role directly after doing FRM. So I want to give you here a very realistic answer that if you are in credit risk for last 10 years, so FRM will not give you a magical transition into any other market risk or counterparty credit risk role. But having said that, uh, it will certainly increase the scope of your existing work first, and secondly, in consulting role, you will have chances to go there, because in consulting roles, what happens often is at your level, 10 plus years of experience, people get hired on manager level, right? Manager or manager two or something like that, right? And there your experience would be mattered more because managers in consulting firms, they typically manage more than one kind of projects. You will see often that a credit risk manager sometimes is also expected to manage liquidity risk or market risk projects, right? At least the basic ones. So if you have covered FRM, your chances of getting placed into consulting roles, right, would increase. For banks, I would not say it would help that much because banks are pretty much like they want a particular kind of profile consistent throughout, right? So a person who is working in rates is more likely to keep working on in the rates profile and not go to even within market risk, that test which will not be possible, right? Deep Tendu, please let me know if I was able to clarify your doubt. uh, I hope I have answered all the questions. I don't see any other question. uh, yes, if anyone has any doubts, please, you're welcome, Diptendu. Okay, Ugesh has one more doubt. If I am taking online prep courses from institutes, is it necessary to go through GARP or Schweizer books? What mode of learning is essential? Reading, listening to clear the exams? So see, there is not one answer to this. It depends a lot on how you absorb knowledge, right? For some people, they prefer reading a lot. For some people, they prefer, actually most people prefer watching to video first, right? That's why we decided, okay, when we are going to provide it, this is a sequence at least we at risk have asked you to follow. First go through the video, right? Go through whatever we are teaching you, and we follow Schweizer notes in our videos also, right? And then once you have absorbed that knowledge, you have absorbed those concepts, then go back, complete the Schweizer notes, what is given in the Schweizer, and you will see that after going through a video, you will find Schweizer much more easier, right? And once you have completed the reading and the studying part of Schweizer book, then go for the questions like analyst prep question bank or our own question bank that we are going to provide you, right? Or the test series quizzes that we are going to provide you, right? Uh, so this is the sequence that we follow. It's a combination of reading material plus visual. In your case, like that you mentioned, like videos, right? So you should follow a combination, like learning, of course, should not be restricted to one media. Uh, all right. Thanks. So welcome, Mukesh. I hope all the questions are answered. So if we don't have any more points, I would want to take your permission to end this session. Right. I hope this was helpful.
Thank you,
Someone,
Ganesh. Yeah.
thanks a lot, Mukesh, for liking this. And if you have any doubts, guys, please ping me right on WhatsApp, and we can take the conversation further.
Sure. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.